Yes, guys. Hope you guys are doing great. Let's have a slurp. Slurpty diddly do. So here's a great technique that you can use that I often do on my basses that you can add more interest and variation specifically after you've bounced it out from Vital or another synth. So let's say I've got this kind of loop going on, and I've got this bass line that I made recently, and it's a sort of long held down bass line. It sounds like this, right? Pretty cool, but what if I want to make like even more variations of it? Like, what's a cool way to do that nice and easily? And you will need a specific plugin for this, which a lot of you already probably have, which is the Filter Freak from Sound Toys. But you can try it with other plugins as well. Another filter plugin would be great, but the Filter Freak especially has like really cool sounding filters. So what I like to do often is bounce out firstly that bass. So I've bounced out the file here, so just as it was from Vital. And so basically, if it was just playing on the beat, on its own with the beat, it's cool. But as you can see down here, I've chopped it all up, right? So what I thought would be a good idea would be to have like every time the kick or the snare hits, it changes the texture of the sound. So the first part of the sound is normal on the first kick. Then when you go to the second snare, we have a different variation. And then back to the kick again for the original sound. And then for the second snare over here, it's a slightly different variation again. And so, yeah, all I did, as you see, I just chopped like the exact squares from the main one and then brought them down onto a new channel. And then I used a couple of different filters to then come up with a rhythm that sounds, or a bass line that sounds more like this. So it has a lot more character than if it was compared to the original without. Like a lot more. It's become a lot more dynamic, really. So for the variations, like I mentioned, I basically just put on a Filter Freak for each one. And the first one is there's a preset on here which is really great, which is called Crisscross Filter, and it basically has two peaks like this. And so as you hear it, you can mix the dry wet here. This one gives it like a vocal sound, and just mix that in halfway. So it's still like close to the original. So that's what the Filter Freak does well, is it adds like a new, or any filter technique really. You can like prioritize certain frequencies using the filter to create a slightly different tone, but the whole sound is still going to be quite relatable to the original, especially when you mix the filter in. So it's just a bit of the filter. What I did to exaggerate the effect is I ran it through a bit of a space blender as well. Great plugin from Sound Toys. And yeah, that kind of just exaggerates that change, so the extra little bit of reverb, it gives you that nice enhanced feeling that there was a bit of a shift in the tonality of the sound. And I do the similar thing for the next one, but I went a step further on this one, and I firstly used the crisscross again, but yeah, before on the first crisscross, the points were at different in a different area. They were more around here, and the mix was more up here. And so for this one, I just basically had the points moving a bit wider, so it's a different type of growl that's being exaggerated, and I blended it in a bit less for this one, so it was a bit more subtle, so it's a little bit closer to the original. Put on the space blender again, It's a slightly different position and different texture for the space blender. So it's again slightly different to the first variation. And then on this time, I put on the ring mod to put some noise into it. So it's quite a lot actually. It gets quite aggressive. Using the bandpass noise. If you're on Ableton, you know, it's kind of like adding in erosion or something like that. But it's slightly different. Got a slightly different sound. The kilohertz one, it's a bit more like digital, you know. But I like it. It cuts through the mix quite well. So yeah, that is a nice variation then, because it also gives you that extra texture on the high end for that part. Yeah, so I just sort of loop that idea, and then yeah, it sounds then, as I mentioned, a lot more dynamic in the whole loop, you know. And like, once I've done that bit of sound design and I'm happy with it, I'm the type of person who will just bounce that out into like the new baseline, and I don't need to, you know, keep all of the kind of split up files. I can just have that as my new baseline version, you know, and you can see now it's got quite a lot of variation in the volume, so it would be a good time to add some compression on this one. So I'll put a bit of compression on. And we can bounce that out, and then it'll be a bit more even, because obviously the filter, yeah, it kind of like will change the volume a bit depending on how you use it, you know, but it's going to often be different to the original volume. So there, now it's like a bit more even all around, you know. And then I can go ahead and yes, start adding in like a kick sidechain. I don't need to demonstrate that for this video because you know how to sidechain hopefully already. If you're struggling with sidechaining, feel free to hit me up for lessons and I'll help you get it like really accurate, you know. But that's basically my little video today, just a little creative bass variation tip. Hope it was helpful for you guys. May I remind you before I go, there's lots of links down below in my videos, but the 4 things that I really can't stress enough are preset packs, great ones for Vital, Faceplant, Serum and Current on my website. Patreon, we've got a great Discord community, chatting every day in there. Loads of cool people, great feedback on your tracks. Mixing and mastering, you won't get as good of a sound if you use AI mastering. It's definitely worth hitting up a mastering engineer if you're serious about releasing your music at a high quality. Feel free to email me if you want that done. And also, as I mentioned, one-on-one lessons, best way to level up your sound at speed. Hit me up in the links down below. All right, thank you very much, my Ds. That's it from me today. More from me very soon. Ciao for now.